A young white man with close-cropped dark hair in jeans and a black jacket dances in a strobe light in the darkness of night, kicking his legs and swinging his arms in slow motion. Voiceover.
When you get off work, what do you do?
He turns around dancing as the light flashes on and off him.
Personally, it's got to be just going out to a club and just dancing your ass off.
He hops, stomps, and dances, his mouth open.
I was so excited to just see everybody. And we all connected. We all got the link up. A t-shirt was just coated. And just remember dancing the whole time.
He laughs.
There's nothing. So you're waiting for a DJ or even like live music, whatever, an artist to come on.
He dances without his jacket in a black t-shirt.
You recognize the song that they're playing, and you just like instant goosebumps from like the top of your neck, like all the way like down your arms, like your back, and you're just like, this is it. I love clubbing. I love it. So good. Unmatched.
He kicks and spins in the light.
Yeah.
He skateboards down a long coastal road under a cloudy blue sky.
It's just happiness, I guess.
He pushes the board forward with one leg in slow motion. Speeding down a long brick tunnel in black and white, the lights overhead making a striped pattern along the curved walls into the distance. Up ahead, a figure skateboards smoothly. Voiceover.
Yeah, I get what you're saying about the vulnerability thing. I think as we get older, it's going to be a lot easier to be vulnerable with each other, and for you to be vulnerable with me. And you've actually come such a long way already with being vulnerable with me. We just need to keep learning about each other, learning what you're comfortable with, learning what you're uncomfortable with. Yeah, I just need to learn that.
The screen goes black. Sudden lights flicker briefly on the black and white texture of hair, then the edges of men's heads. People crowd the room behind them, dancing and holding drinks in the flashing lights.
Why did I come here? I had too many deadlines, and I was sweating and rushed for 4 years. It seemed I was never getting out of things to do. I wriggle and thrash just to get through my day.
Moving through the crowd, a couple kisses passionately.
The dream is a clean swipe of everything that's outside of anything that seemed important at the time. I see people laughing and falling from the other side of the bar, knowing it will be me in 10 minutes when I finish.
Two peoples grasp arms and pull away in slow motion.
2 million 13-year-olds screamed for a pharmacist, and they're all coming to meet on a Saturday night.
A person with a punk haircut dances among other smiling dancers, a bar in the background.
Imagined possibilities roll through their eyes, into their temporal lobes, triggering every memory of fun they've ever had at once.
Young men and women dance on a table above the dancing crowd. They grin and the lights keep flashing.
One new message strikes my veins. Dopamine floods to my ventral striatum, fueling me to act, to say something back, to give in. I breathe in, I breathe out. The conversation with myself starts.
People head bang in front of bright lights, their hair flying, as people around them laugh.
There's a tiny child that lives inside everyone, right inside this ventral striatum. A small child, a nice child, a humble child.
Slow motion strobe lights illuminate the partiers.
So much that they get on well with everyone else's tiny child in Scotland. The thing is though, they are a child. They're not too good at steering the ship.
An overhead view of the milling crowd, all close and touching each other on the dance floor.
They don't take into account your 5-year plan, your washing basket, or any of your week ahead. Mine has fallen out with everyone now. In 2018, we came to a settlement that my needs were more important than theirs. But now I endure a blizzard in my empty lock screen, and the child can't help but flood my body with the rage that comes from no love or no warmth or no hit, and whispers a fatal jab, so quietly that I can't tell if it was me or them that said it.
Slow motion dancers jump and wave their arms in dim light.
When will we be ready to talk about the blood and boils of Scotland? And when we do, what happens when we can't exhale parts of ourselves? Do we pretend they're not there, or do we listen to them, kiss them softly on the cheek, and forgive?
Lights strobe over a young man who leaps into his friend's arms.
Why do we come here? Why can't I wait to come here again? I just miss my pals, it was that simple. Their faces glisten like streams after a year of drought. I walk in, they see me, hug me, liberate the best of me.
Young men perform a handshake.
I am overwhelmed, and I can't remember taking the leap from agony to ecstasy. This morning I read aloud my eulogy to them. I am never coming here again. They laughed, like we are taught to laugh. You're at it. We'll see you tonight.
Clustered dancing bodies, hands holding large drinks, a person recording on a mobile phone.
The messages between my prefrontal cortex and my ventral striatum are completely lost. There's no such thing as a connection between the two, or a to-do list, or a 9 AM appointment tomorrow. Just gushes and gushes of dopamine, making my brain burn and need, and anything in between.
Shirtless young men dancing.
Why don't you just talk to me if you're struggling? I know I've just said that out of the blue, but why does it have to be weird?
A white light shines brightly on the pale dancing bodies.
There's something about the thought of it. Admitting defeat over the only thing that connects us. Sober. I mean, I'm really sorry if that was weird. Are we more alone now than we were then, in the never-ending winter of 2020? Who are we really with then when we lose all sight and sound on Fridays? Are we with ghosts or amputees, friends or family?
Young men and women sing, swaying and gesticulating.
Or maybe you're lucky and you're not even there at all. Why did I come here? Because this space was designed for me, for those who can't be alone, and for those who are locked outside of everywhere else.
Two young men hug and pat each other's backs, one of them shirtless.
When will we be ready to talk about the blood and boils of Scotland? And when we do, what happens when we can't exhale parts of ourselves? Do we pretend they're not there, or do we listen to them, kiss them softly on the cheek, and forgive?
A young man in swim trunks leaps from a rocky cliff while holding his nose. His landing in the water below is unseen except for the white bubbling splash left behind. He rises up from the bubbles in slow motion, whipping his head free of water. Young men sprint across a beach towards the waves, running into the surf. They dive under the water. In color, a young red-haired white man in swimming trunks walks across a rocky shore and wades into the water. Voiceover.
Before we were the last to leave the beach at Old Head Pier, you had gone back into the sea to wash the sand from off your hair.
The murky brownish form of the man swims and turns flips under the water.
At the time, I thought nothing of it. To me, you seemed content with your 7-year-old's lot in life of bed, school, food and play. But when you came out of the water, a strange light shone from within you through your shimmering scales, as I watched you change before my eyes into a half boy, half fish.
Ripples dance on the water's surface, the young man's head a dot far out from shore. He turns underwater and swims back to shore.
You spoke to me through larger than usual lips. Dad, I want to be a fish, you said. You will be, son. One day you will be. Which seemed to me the most appropriate thing to say, given the man to half boy, half fish kind of situation I found myself in.
He steps up onto the rocky shore and crouches to turn off the recording camera. The young white man with cropped dark hair skateboarding down the long coastal road, pushing himself forward with his right foot. Voiceover.
Coming out here, there's like a sense of like proper freedom. It is silent. You feel Feels like I'm in a bubble. I feel protected.
He looks back while gliding around a curve.
It's not nice to not, to feel like you don't matter, but it is nice to feel away,
He pushes with force, speeding down the road.
like not always connected to everyone's lives.
He dances on a rock with water in the background, pushing off from one toe then the other, swinging his arms in front of him.
I don't know. I don't really have I don't have a thought to why.
The strobe light flashes on him. He dances, unsmiling.
I feel like it ruins them. It leaves you in situations where you have nobody.
He grins and wheels his arm in the air.
I mean, you don't know what they're going through, and they're probably not going to tell you. So like, what can you do? What can you do? Everyone's just got this underlying sadness about them.
He stops dancing and stands still, then starts again, hopping from side to side.
That's why I feel like you need people to be like, what's happening, man? Like, what's wrong?
The natural light behind him fades and the strobe brightens.
Tell me what's going on.
He jigs in the shallows of the water, kicking and splashing.
I think everybody's went through certain things in their life that have made them vulnerable.
The light flashes on him while he stomps, kicking up water.
I just don't feel like I've got the answer. I really don't. Yeah, I would feel vulnerable. I feel shame admitting if I did have an addiction. So I can understand why somebody else would. So yeah, I guess there are certain vulnerabilities that we all share.
The strobe light slows, only illuminating his dancing face and arms in further and further segments.
Addiction's a solid one that we're all kind of dealing with in different ways, but the same.
His face flashes a final time in the strobe, then blackness. Daytime, he walks on the rocky shore with his hands in his pockets. He stands at the edge of black rocks looking out at the water. An empty wooden chair sits on the beach facing away from the waves behind it. Text: a film by Cal Mac. Starring Dej. Poetry by Paul McCormick, Cal Mac. Commissioned for Beyond by Film and Video Umbrella. Production supervisor, Mike Jones. Thanks, Lucas Laverty, Julia McCormick, Kira Balfour, Peter Bonomi, Monica Skouros, Ruin Scanlon, B. Singlander, Susanna Chisholm FVU, Stephen Bode FVU, Leah McGurk FVU supported using public funding by Arts Council England.